Good evening, family. Tony here, Tuesday night, and it's November the 2nd. I got some interesting things to talk to you about. Some things that the Lord has showed me in the past that I've remembered that actually are starting to all come together and make sense. And where I don't think that I never really thought about it that much before, but it's really interesting. But before I go there, if you haven't accepted the Lord Jesus as your Savior, if you don't know whether or not you go to heaven if you died, then all you need to do is believe and trust in Jesus Christ. Believe the gospel, which means good news. Believe that God sent His only Son in John 3:16. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life. The Bible in Romans says that all have sinned and come short of the glory of God, and that none are righteous, no, not one. It also says that the wages of sin are death, but the gift of God is eternal life. So the sins that we do are death penalties. I mean, every sin, breaking of the Ten Commandments, those are penalties of death. But even further than that, we are all born into a state of perpetual sin. We're fallen beings. We were in sin ever since the first man and woman that walked the earth, Adam and Eve, who sinned against God and committed the first sin, and they were promised death because of it. He said, of all the trees of the garden you shall freely eat, but the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat of. And the day that thou eatest of, ye shall surely die. So because they ate of that tree, sin came into the world. We're all born into this, guys. We can't escape it. That's why no one is righteous. Because even if we live the perfect life, we're still in perpetual sin. So Jesus is the answer, guys. He's the cure. He's the fix. God sent Him to die for the world. He has been planned since the very beginning. Even in Genesis, it talks about it. The plan for Jesus to save us from our sins, to die and sacrifice His life for us, was written probably before the world was ever even thought of. So accept Jesus in your heart. Believe He's the Son of God, that He died on the cross, buried and raised again in 3 days, that He arose back to life, and by doing so, paid the price for our sins with His precious blood. He also ascended to heaven and made atonement for us. And He promised also that He would come back for us. So the steps in the description, guys. And so don't waste any more time. Jesus is coming soon. And if the longer you wait, the better chance you have of Him coming while you're in sin. And if Jesus comes for His church and you're living in sin and He takes His church out, you're going to be left behind in the worst days the world has ever seen, a 7-year period of absolute hell on earth. And you don't want to be here for that. If you want to know what that's all about, just go read the book of Revelation, chapter 13, and it'll give you a very good picture of how bad it's going to be. So, anyways, Brother Chooch made a video yesterday, very interesting video, and he was, trying to encourage people who have gotten discouraged because the 31st passed, because a lot of people are believing that it was the last day of summer in Israel and they only have 2 seasons. But just something that I wanted to bring to your attention, Brother Kevin and I were discussing briefly via text about this, that winter doesn't officially start for most of the world until December 21st. And remember, there's also the winter solstice that also takes place, an alignment of the stars that declare basically that the wintertime has begun. And I don't know all the details, but I'm sure it has something to do with where the sun is, the way the sun is, whatever, how it all works. But just but it's called the winter solstice. It's the shortest day of the year, and that's the first day of winter. So I believe that's right. Yeah, right. Yeah, the shortest day of the year is winter. Is the winter solstice. So we're still technically in the warmer season. We're in the fall. I mean, it'll be fall till December 21st, and even Thanksgiving is kind of a harvest festival. So up until Thanksgiving, we're definitely still in a harvest season. Things are still growing, So don't get discouraged about that, guys. There's still time. But there's some things that I wanted to tell you about that I've actually mentioned in videos in past times. But I know I've got a lot of new subscribers, so I wanted to talk about this a little bit for them and for you guys who may not remember this. Now, I know that my personal confirmations, isn't going to offer a lot of encouragement to everybody else, but I certainly hope that it helps with all the confirmations that each and every one of us are receiving. I'm hoping that this can help give some light on, the confirmations that other people are having, that we really are still in high watch time. Okay. Now I want to start with this. You guys all know, I'm sure you all by now know about the trumpets that I heard, one in September last year on the 7th day. It was the 7th of September, which was Labor Day. And, there's this theme of Revelation 12 and the baby and the labor pains begin as travail on a woman, and they shall not escape. All these connections to labor and La Palma and the baby being the brand new baby island. And, there's all kinds of connections with the baby. I had a dream about the baby with my grandson, and then the balloon, he had a balloon, the balloon escaped, his baby's gone, the baby's gone. There's a lot of connections to the baby, the Labor Day. Then the next one that I heard, I skipped October. I didn't hear one in October last year, but on November the 7th, again, on the 7th day, I heard it. Now, what's odd is, and something that really baffled me is like, I just went out randomly. If I had went out a little bit earlier, I wouldn't have heard it. If I went out a little bit later, I wouldn't have heard it. Or could it just simply be that God waited for me to come out? And then he allowed it to happen for a reason, guys, for a reason, because they were very weird times of the morning. In September, the shofar that I heard was at 5:30 a.m. on Labor Day. And then the one in November was 2:14 a.m. So very different time frames. And so I don't really think that those times that I heard them meant anything, but the date meant something. Okay, I believe that. And I believe it was a 1-year warning. And I'm going to get to the reasons, all the reasons why, some of the reasons why. There's more. But there's some interesting things that correlate to that. Now, I believe it was a supernatural shofar, and I've explained that a million times about how there's woods out here where I heard it from, or woods that you can't even walk through during the day, let alone somebody being out there in the middle of the morning or night in the darkness, blowing Jewish shofars, blowing it in a kosher way, in a Jewish customary way, and then never hearing it again ever since then or before, never hearing these people play it. Not that I would even believe that there were people down there with the shofar, because these people down here, they do a lot of partying and hollering and screaming. There's no reason for me to believe that there's anybody down there that would even be practicing a Jewish custom such as blowing a shofar and doing it so only twice in the entire year or ever. So I believe it was supernatural. The dogs didn't bark. There was no echo. There was a lot of reasons why I believe it was supernatural. And I believe that I was meant to hear it for a reason. And I think I'm beginning to understand why. The Labor Day thing was a part of it. But I believe that this window of time, these 3 months window of time, has been like the highest watch ever. Because we had the Jewish feast days, which it didn't happen on. And there was nothing that happened in October. But we all kept believing it was a month behind. It was a month behind. So we were looking at all the feast days twice. But here's what I want to talk about. And like I said, the last one I heard was on November the 7th last year. And I believe it's a 1-year warning. Here's what I want to talk about. Before I moved into this house, I lived the address of the house that I lived at was number 7. It was just a 7. I mean, I've never lived in a house other than an apartment. I've lived in apartments where I had an address like that. But never have I lived in a house, a rented house, that was a single number. And it was 7. And I'm going to tell you, there was a lot of things that happened before that, before we moved into that house. We went through some really pretty difficult times. It's too much to even get into, but we were going through some difficult times, and I really needed a house, and I needed it desperately. And me and my wife prayed that we could find somewhere. We were staying in something called the Homestead Lodge in Charlotte, and it was a rinky-dinky place. And we had all of our furniture in storage, and we had everything that was important to us inside the motel, whatever you call it. And it was very uncomfortable. It was an awful time. And we were just praying so hard, God, help us find a place. And when we found it, okay, it was way out in South Carolina. So, which we actually were living in South Carolina. The house that we lived in before we moved into the Homestead Lodge, that was only a temporary thing, but that was near my work. I worked in Charlotte, so we got a place that was near to my work. So anyways, to make a long story short, we moved into to 7 Wheelglow Street. It was a very It was so beautiful. It was a beautiful, cozy little place. It had a wired workshop. It had everything that we wanted at the time, everything that we needed. It was really nice, 3-bedroom, 2 full baths, and we loved it. And we stayed in that house for 11 years. Now, this is where I'm going with this. 11 years is how long we stayed in that house. And it was number 7, Will Glow Street. Like 7 will glow. Of course, we know that's God's number. Of course, it's going to glow. But the address was 7 will glow. We lived there for 11 years. Why is 11 important? Because that's how old I was when I had my vision of the rapture. And that vision of the rapture was the future. I was living in my house way far in the future. And my brother Kenny was the only one in my dream. My brother Jack and my sister was not in the dream or the vision. They were not in it at all. And in fact, the past few years, or since my brother Jack died in 2018, my sister, where she lives, and there's reasons why, but she can't come and visit. She's got, she's only been able to come here one time when Kenny was dying, but she's got reasons. Okay, I can't get into her personal business to tell it on personal business here, but there's reasons why she can't. She can't really leave. She took a very big chance, and thank God everything worked out. But she can't really leave where she's living. Okay, and it's not nothing bad. It's totally good, but it's just there's reasons for it. So she's not like coming over or visit with me. So this was a time in my life. The past few years was a time in my life where Kenny was the only one in my life. Jack died, and Kenny was the only one coming around, but he wasn't living with me. But in my vision, it was as if he were living with me, even though I don't know. I was never anything we talked about because the vision happened really quick. But what happened was I saw him, I was standing beside my house looking towards the backyard. If you're facing it, I was on the right side of the house looking towards the back to the left. And there's something that I don't rarely ever talk about because, it was such a distant memory now, but it was certainly that was there, and I do remember. Because I always try to connect it to the place that I'm living. Was this the place? Is this the place? But in the vision, now, because, I understand that this was partially symbolic. In the vision itself, there was a big field. I always told people it was a big bean field, and I believe it was a big soybean field. Because I grew up in the country, and I was always lots of soybean fields around. But it was a field, okay? That much I definitely can remember for sure. I don't know what was growing in the field, but it was a field. And I believe that prophetically, the field represents possibly the world or a time or a time frame or something to that effect, because lots of people have had rapture visions about being in a field. Even Tyler's had a couple dreams where one, he was looking at the moon. He was standing in a field looking up at the sky, looking at the moon. And that big clock, that was one of them. He saw that big clock. It looked like a clock with the sun and the stars going around. He was in a field. And then my other son dreamed a dream where there was a big party going on in a field. And lots of people have had visions about a field. So there's something very important about that field that was behind Kenny. But Kenny was walking around with his head down, looking at the ground, like he was looking for something. And I always told people, since I was 11, I'm 48, that he was looking for something. And then all of a sudden, a light came up over the horizon. The whole horizon just went woof, with a bright orange, brightest light you've ever seen, like the sun just exploded. It was moving. I could see it coming towards us really quick, and I ran towards him. And it wasn't far. I wasn't far from him. I guess you could count it 1, 2, 3 if I was, took a really, long strides. 1, 2, 3, and I would have been where he was at. So I took off running towards him. So within 3 seconds, basically, the light hit him. And I saw him light up like a blowtorch just hit him, or a bug zapper or something. Just like, beep. And then I went, ah, and I turned my head and closed my eyes. I said, oh, God. And it hit me. I felt warmth hit me. I didn't feel no pain. I was expecting it was a bomb. It was a nuclear bomb, and I was expecting to burn. But I didn't feel no pain. I didn't feel no blast of power or energy either, like a percussion blast. All I felt was this loving warmth just came over me. Instantly, I opened my eyes, and that's when I seen this, all the people in the white robes, so far as you could see in every direction with the gold bands. And I saw the big man in the middle holding out his arms. I thought it was God, but it was God. It was Jesus. I just didn't know that at the time because I didn't know what the rapture was. And if I had known, I'd have been looking at his hands to see the scars because he was showing his palms. He was showing his hands. But I was fixed on his eyes. His eyes were so beautiful. But anyways, I didn't mean to get it back into that vision again. But my point is, I was 11 years old when I had it. Kenny was in the vision. So I believe that the vision was pointing to this house because Kenny has now passed away. He was in the vision in my house in the future, and now he has passed away. You see, I seen him go. I think God was showing me that I would see him pass away because, see, if the rapture had happened, it happens in a twinkling of an eye. I wouldn't have seen him go in real life if we had been standing next to each other. We would have went at the same time instantly, right? I believe that. But I seen him go. I think it was a representation. It was prophetic that Kenny would die before the rapture happened, but that I would see the rapture. And maybe by showing me that it would happen close to the same time, it could have been in 1 year. A 1 year time period or sometime within that year, because he died on my birthday, which is January the 21st. And we're in the 21st year, 2021. So there's something about the number 21, and he passed, and God knew he was going to pass on my birthday. And I believe that that's why he's been showing me things, because he knew that my life was going to reflect some certain things. So he set up a time frame. There's been lots of things, even with my dreams, that point to time frames. But now listen, 11 years old, I was in that house for 11 years. Now, fast forward, we bought this house. We bought this house in 2014. November is when we moved in. I think we finished the final closing in October, but guys, we moved in this house in November. And I couldn't, for the life of me, I could not figure out exactly when in November. Because if it were like, if you know where I'm going with this. If I heard the shofar on November 7th and we find out we moved in here on November 7th, then whoa, now that's a whole nother thing. And I believe it could be, guys, and I'm going to explain why. Now, I can't remember, and I've tried my best to figure out any kind of way to find out. My brothers are dead. My sister don't know. And I don't know how to find out. I could find out when I closed on my house. I already know that. It was in October. But I know we moved in November. And why I know that, for lots of reasons, but the main thing is we bought all new furniture and had it all delivered. And they all delivered. It was in November. And it was in early November, I believe. And there's reasons. First of all, the 1st of November is my wife's birthday. Yesterday was her birthday. So if it had been that close to her birthday, we would have been talking about how the house was such a wonderful gift, a birthday gift. And we never spoke anything about her birthday when we moved in this house. Now, here's the other thing. I moved in. We didn't move in. It's like, at the time, my wife was working third shift. So me and the kids wanted to spend the night here as soon as they brought our furniture. So we grabbed the things that we needed for the night and we came and spent the night. We wanted out of that place so bad. We were so tired of wanting this house. We were so excited. We're just excited. So we wanted to be here. And so we have all new beds. Well, they didn't have beds yet. They hadn't got theirs yet, but we have brand new couches with recliners, and they agreed that they would sleep on those and that I could sleep in the bed. And then, the first night. And I remember just how everything was that first night. And I remember waking up. I remember the alarm going off on the phone. And I remember I really don't remember the alarm going off the very first night, but I remember waking up that first day after we spent the night and remembering how tranquil it was and how good it felt to be here. How my bed was so comfortable. It was a brand new, memory foam bed and everything. And everything was just so perfect. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, I wouldn't have... Look, I'm funny about my routine for work, okay? I have to do certain things a certain way. I get up at a certain time. I go back to sleep, and I get up. I do things a certain way every day. I always have. Slightly change it. I've changed it up a little bit over the years, but slightly different. But it's mostly the same. And if it had been during a work week, it would have been stressful if it had been during the week. It would have been stressful. I would have had to make sure I got my work clothes. I would have had to have my breakfast. I'd have had to have my lunch for work. I'd have had to have all these things together. I just don't remember that being a thing. I remember it being we grabbed the stuff we needed for the night because we were about to move in, and we came over, spent the night. Then we went in the morning and started bringing our stuff over. So I believe it happened on a weekend, and I believe it happened on a Friday. The second Friday in November in 2014 was the 7th. Now, if it could have been on the following weekend. It could have been on the 14th. But here's the other thing. We had a big Thanksgiving get-together, and I had all my family, Jack and Kenny, and my sister never came. But everybody else came. And my nephews and nieces even came. We had this really big Thanksgiving party or Thanksgiving get together. Wasn't no party, just food, But we wouldn't have had time to organize it if he had moved in on the 14th, I don't think. Because that only gave us 2 weeks. And we went out, we even bought little, warming trays, that has the little sterno cans and all that. We bought all that stuff. We made it was a really big deal. I just don't think we would have moved in on the 14th and only had like 2 weeks to get ready for this thing. We planned a big one. And I'm almost certain that my brothers came to see my house. Not the weekend we moved in. We wouldn't have wanted anybody coming around then. We would have had to get unpacked and everything first. It would have at least been a week. But I feel like I remember them either a week or two after we moved in come and visited the house before Thanksgiving. So there's a lot of reasons, guys, why I believe, to make a long story short, that we moved into this house on the 7th of November, on a Friday in 2014. Now, why is that important? Because I heard the shofar on the 7th last year. It was the last shofar. And here's what's interesting, guys. I know that this isn't the last. If it had been the trumpet last, I mean, we'd all heard it and we'd all be gone. But it's symbolic. You see, I heard the one in September, and it pointed to Labor Day, and it created a time frame. And if I had not have heard that one in September, or heard one prior to the one in November, I would not be able to say that it was the last trumpet that I heard. It was my last trumpet. You see, it was symbolic. I believe it could have been symbolic of God saying, you're going to when the watch starts, when the big high watch starts in September, but you're going to hear the last, and the trumpets will start. In other words, you need to get ready. You need to start getting ready because you only got a few months. And remember Tyler's dream about the clock? It took up the 11, 12, and 1 o'clock positions. That's 3. That he saw 2 moons, physical slivers, but he said he saw a space of time between the first and the second. So it was a new moon because he saw a no moon, then a sliver, and then a bigger sliver. You see? So he saw three moons, 3 months. September, October, November. It's very possible, guys. Months and moons represent months. So the stars and sun and moon are just the days going by. Okay, all this could have been pointing to this time frame. Okay, and I know I have said that maybe the November and the September were brackets pointing to October. I don't, it could have been anyways, because October 31st, something really big happened. The Pope, or at least one of his cohorts, or somebody in the papacy, or whatever you call it, papacy, I guess that's what you call it, had went to Glasgow, Scotland, with Obama and some other world leaders, a bunch of world leaders, to do that economic forum thing where they talked about social equity and so forth. The Pope was basically talking about, the economy, but he was also talking about this new Islam, this religion thing. But no matter what it was, I can't remember. I don't know exactly all the things they talked about for sure. And he may not have talked about that, but I'm pretty sure I heard somebody say that he did. But either way, he probably did, because this is a big deal to him, or evidently. And a lot of us still believe that he's the false prophet of Revelation. So it's very possible. But the key is he signed a 7-year agreement, with these countries. Some people think it was a revising of the Paris agreements. I don't know. I don't know what he signed, but we do know that it was 7 years, and that's very interesting. And it happened on the 31st. So what else has happened in the middle of all this that was very important? I heard the first shofar on the 9th month. I heard the next one on the 11th month. On 9/11, La Palma Island began to shake. That's when the earthquake started. I even wrote it on my calendar. And then on the 19th, the thing exploded, but it was on a Sunday. And it was that Sunday that dream about not Walmart necessarily, but the place that was like a super Walmart, where I was looking for potatoes and cookware to go to a celebration. And we were in a hurry, and when my grandson kept hollering, something about the baby, and he had a balloon in his hand, all that happened. And then the balloon got whipped out of his hand for the wind and went up in the sky, and he's yelling, "The baby's gone, the baby's gone, the baby's gone." Everything was dressed up in fall theme. It was fall. It was a fall theme. Everything was dressed up in fall. No Halloween, no Thanksgiving or Christmas, just fall. As though it's saying that this is going to take place in the fall. The baby's going to be gone. and we were in the fall. I mean, Israel don't even have a fall, so you can't even count Israel as being part of the fall or not, because they don't have, obviously they just have summer and winter. So we have a fall, and it was fall leaves in the dream. I believe it was a fall theme. So that, you got that. So 9/11, September, November, they were on the 7th days. I had lived in my previous house for 11 years. That was how old I was when I had the vision. I lived in, and it was 7 will glow, which, the shofars happen on 7th days. And the 7th, November 7th, everybody's looking at November the 6th and 7th this year. I mean, now, because, of all the connections to that. This is really interesting stuff here. It's kind of blowing my mind the more I think about it. So we lived there for 11 years, and we lived here this November, and I'm pretty sure, guys, even if it was just this month, it's still been 7 years. It's still 7 years. And it was November. And November the 7th of November was, you see the connection, right? And I also believe that we could very well have moved in on Friday night, which was the 7th of November, 2014. Guys, I don't know. I can't say for sure. I don't even know how to find out. I wish I could. I wish I could find out for sure, because that would be a big piece of the puzzle. But I'm almost certain anyways, because it's the only thing that makes sense. I know I wouldn't have moved in here during a work week. Like I said, my routine wouldn't have given me room to do that. I wouldn't have been able to spend the night here and bring all that stuff over for work and get ready and be in a rush. I would have only done it on a Friday. They delivered our furniture that week, and we planned to stay there Friday night because we were going to be moving in anyways. My wife was working 3rd shift. She didn't spend the night. So anyways, I believe it was on the 7th. It makes the most sense, because if it had been the 1st, the weekend before that, on the Friday would have been the 1st. That was my wife's birthday. We would have been talking about, wow, what a great gift for your birthday to be able to move into our new house. It wasn't ready yet. They wouldn't have the furniture yet. It wasn't ready yet. But because we bought all new furniture, we want to leave everything from the old house, the old life behind, and start anew. So we did. And like I said, we had the big Thanksgiving get together. It would have taken more than a week or two to organize it. While we haven't unpacked, it would have took us a week just to get everything unpacked, set up and everything. It would have took at least a week, because we had a lot of stuff that we moved in here, and I about filled the garage up the first day. The first weekend. So we had a lot of unboxing to do. That would have at least taken a week, maybe even longer. So that didn't give us a whole lot of time to get ready for that Thanksgiving thing. So I think we moved in here on the 7th of November, and we were here 7 years. On 7th, that means that the 7th of November will be 7 years that we've lived in this house. 7 will glow was our previous house. 7 will glow. 7th of September, 7th of November, and we all know that's God's number. What is God trying to say to me? To tell you guys? Well, I think He's trying to say, buckle up, because we're about to go home. I hope anyways. Guys, really, I don't know. Maybe not, okay? Maybe something else will happen. Maybe it won't be the rapture. Maybe something else very extraordinary will happen on the 7th. Maybe it's the start of tribulation. But I don't know. I don't know. But I do know this. I heard the first shofar sounded kind of like a do-do-do-do, or it was more like do-do-do-do-do. It was like not that fast, but it was, it sounded more like a good sound, like an announcement, a fanfare for a big event. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Doesn't that sound like it's got kind of a happy sound? But when you hear it, that sounds more like an ominous warning, doesn't it? Just like the emergency broadcast has that doo. It's a long blast because it's really trying to wake you up and really trying to get your attention, say, you need to take heed. You need to take heed. And that's the way I felt when that second one blasted. And I kind of felt like both of them was a little ominous because of the sound that they made, because I'd never really knew what a Jewish shofar or ram's horn. I've heard them, but I never really thought about that much, how ominous it sounds. But it was a different kind of blast. It was a longer, slower on the second time. It lasted much, much longer. The first time was very quick. And so anyways, guys, that's all I got on that. I just hope that you guys realize that we are still in high watch season. Please don't get discouraged. Please don't get discouraged, guys. I mean, we've got until November the 14th, 2022 before we can we'll have to throw out the fig tree generation pretty much. I mean, we won't be able to look at it the same way. That's if you take it literal. And, I mean, Brother Chooch was talking about, he takes it literal. I do too. I take it literal because Jesus said it. And Jesus, when he speaks, it comes to reality. I mean, he can't exactly lie, but then again, he could say it in a general way. But I just believe that because he said it, and nobody else said it, that he meant it right on no more than 80, before they turn 81. However that works out, that they will be 80, that they won't exceed 80 years, So that we got until then. I mean, so I wouldn't give up at all. We should never give up. Jesus is coming back, he promised. But as far as the length of time, we don't want to start talking about 2022 and 2023 right now, guys. None of us is ready for that. I mean, that even when I say it, it's like a punch in the gut. And besides, I believe we're going on this year because so many things happened that was connected to the 21st, like my birthday. Kenny passed away on the 21st, which was January, my birthday, and the fact of the vision, which I explained at the beginning. It just all makes sense. It makes so much sense. So, guys, could God have been showing me a time frame with a definite ending, even possibly a date? I don't know. I can't say that for sure. I don't know. I wish I did. I know that it was from the Lord because he's been like, this vision has been, my life has been so tightly hinged to this vision that I have told so many people so long. I mean, it's basically this thing is my whole life. So I know it's from God, and I know that he has used it in so many ways, not only to encourage me, but to encourage others. And I've encouraged a lot of people. That vision is the truth, guys. It really happened. It wasn't a dream. Even though a lot of times I'll say dream because, really you can't explain something like this. It was like an outer body experience. I didn't have time to go to sleep. I saw Jesus' face. I saw his eyes. I don't know that a person can do that in the flesh. I believe when a person has an outer body experience is the only time they can see Jesus' face. That's just what I feel. And I saw his face. So I believe it was some kind of a spiritual, I believe it was more like a heavenly slideshow. I mean, it obviously wasn't the real event. I mean, we won't even be able to comprehend the real event. I mean, it's too much for us to comprehend. The Bible says that has not entered the hearts of men or the minds of the hearts of men, the wonders that God has in store for those who love him. So we haven't even conceived that. We can't. It's not possible. But it was a glimpse, and it was almost like a heavenly slideshow of a glimpse of what could be like, or what it will be like. So, guys, if that was just a glimpse, oh my gosh, that was the most glorious and wonderful. And, oh my goodness, I mean, I feel like if I had been, if I had been seeing that in real life in my flesh, that it would have killed me. I was so overjoyed, I could hardly breathe. I mean, I don't even remember breathing. I just remember that it was just like, I couldn't believe what it was really happening. I mean, this is it. We're going to heaven. And then when it started to fade away, I'm screaming, "No, God, I don't want this to be a dream. Please don't let me go back. I don't want to go back. I want to be there." And I kept saying that. And that's when I felt like I hit my body and boom, I rose up in the bed. I felt myself hit something. Yes, it was so crazy. But the whole time I'm watching this whole vision of Jesus and the saints with the gold bands, everything's fading away. And then I felt like I hit my body and raised up, opened my eyes, and I could still see it fading away with my eyes now differently. It was more faded, but it was still there. I could still see it. And now I'm reaching for it with my arms going, "No, God, don't let this be a dream." Guys, if it was anything close to that, that alone, there's nothing that bad that could happen that it wouldn't be worth this thing. That's how glorious that was. And that was some kind of a glimpse. Could you imagine the real thing? Guys, if it took us the rest of our lives, if we have to die 1,000 deaths, it would be worth it. But we're not going to have to. And it's coming soon. So be encouraged. Guys, you just don't know how glorious. None of us know how glorious this is going to be. But we know that it is going to be inconceivably glorious. Inconceivably glorious. And it could happen next week. It could happen tonight. And, I always say it, I don't set dates, but I like to watch dates of interest. And I believe Jesus could come anytime, and maybe some people have said, "Oh, you can't have your cake and eat it too." Yeah, I can. Why can't I? I mean, why can't I say that Jesus could come anytime and then him still could come on a feast day? It's possible. Or he could come, and because we know whatever time he comes, it's going to be an appointment. The God already knows when it's going to happen. So it's already an appointed time. But it may not be on an actual 7 feast day, which I believe God has already confirmed that to me over and over 3 times that night and that next day. I don't believe it's going to be on a feast day. I believe God already showed me that, but I believe it could still be on a religious day, just not one of the 7 feasts. It could be on any other date, I believe, but not on the 7 feast days. I believe. Only reason I believe that is because of what God showed me. But it does make sense that Jesus has actually got to fulfill those on the earth. So our going up in the rapture is probably going to be its own thing. Its own. It's so glorious that I believe it's going to be its own thing. I mean, Jesus has taken us. Can you imagine the memorials, the memory of this thing? Do you think that God would want us to have to share that with some other time that was celebrated? I don't think so. I mean, we could. I don't know. It wouldn't be nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying it like that. I know that kind of sounded kind of bad, but I didn't mean it like that. I'm just saying that I believe that this is such an important and special time that I don't believe it's going to be shared with any other date. I believe this is a standalone, glorious day of itself that we will always remember for eternity as being the day of the resurrection. Not the day of the first fruits, not the day of all that was Jesus's. Jesus fulfilled those, and we're the benefactors of that. We're his body. We benefit from what he did when he fulfilled those feasts. Which, and if you think about it, he kind of already fulfilled them all in one way or another. From the angels announcing his birth, could have been the fulfillment of the Feast of Trumpets. I mean, there's just lots of things there, that you could look at to see that he's already started fulfilling those already. Or maybe he's going to fulfill them on the earth the same way he fulfilled the first 4 when he was on the earth. So I'm saying don't get discouraged because the feast days are over. Because Jesus could come anytime, and I know that a lot of people want to say because they're frustrated with people saying nobody knows the day of the hour. I get it. I get frustrated too because I don't think that's what it meant either. But I do believe that there's a special time for the rapture because it's in a harpot. So it's not a gradual ascension. It's a snatching away, and I believe that makes it important enough to say something is happening to make God want to snatch us out of here, and it could be. I didn't mention this, guys, and most of you probably already noticed by now, but there was when it came out in Reuters and other places today, the announcement came out that FDA approved the Pfizer vaccination. I need to be careful to say that it was approved for 5 to 11-year-old children, and that they're going to ship out like 28 million doses and have them ready to be administered by November the 8th. The 8th, the day after, the 7th. Is that a coincidence? It could be. I don't really believe in coincidences, but I'm just saying, could that just be a happenstance? Just happens to happen. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible, but I got a feeling that there's more to this story than meets the eye. And I believe that the darkness that's at work here, God is well aware of and very attentive to the evil that the devil he's doing right now. All the sinister, malevolent deeds, the nefarious deeds that the devil is conjuring and working and orchestrating right now. God's well aware of that, guys. He's not in the blind. He's not, oh my goodness, look what's happening. We got to do something. It ain't like that. He's got a plan for it. He's letting it happen because God, waits to the last minute. He doesn't want anyone to perish. So he's waiting until the last minute until we have to be taken out of here, guys. So if that's the case, and I believe it is, and that would be the heart of God, of course, to want to wait as long as he possibly could to get as many into heaven as he could. God, that's the heart of God. We should be more like that, really. But let's just say this: that if that's what he's doing, then he's waiting for something to happen. Or that there is not necessarily waiting for it. Well, he is. But wait, just like we are. But there's a certain time that something's going to happen that he's going to need to snatch us out of here. And I'm going to tell you something. Sticking his innocent children with an abomination, that might just be the one. I don't know. La Palma? I don't know. There's lots of things going on right now. Any of these things, all of these things, we're close, guys. We're at the door. We're at the threshold. Stay encouraged. Keep looking up. And I'll either see you here or there, especially in the air. Brother Chooch. That's Brother Chooch's favorite line, and I love that line too. And guys, I love y'all so much. And I'll see you on the next video if we're not already in heaven. And I'm telling you guys, we are that close, so just be ready. Love y'all. Bye.